Hello, a very good afternoon and welcome to Love Talk. Today we're going to be talking about independent women. Now, not just independent of women per se, but we will be speaking about women who tend to put their careers as the most important thing for them, climbing the ladder of success, and they wake up one day thinking, I don't have a man, I'm not married, I should have thought about this earlier, I should have thought of a better plan.
Yeah, men are taken. Men their age are taken.
Yeah, and of course, we know that you're never too late or too old, or it doesn't matter your age, you can still find love. Of course, there are things that perhaps you won't be able to have. It's quite difficult to have children from a certain age onwards. And today we're talking about why. Why is this becoming a more common phenomenon among us? Why are there so many women who focus everything they have, all their career and energy, or all their strength and energy into their career and forget about their love life? And can you do both? Can you invest your energy in having a healthy, successful career and also a healthy, successful relationship?
But for those at home, I would like to remind you that you can email us your opinion. The email address is lovelab@lovetalkshow.tv, as you can see on the screen now. And you can let us know, maybe you've dedicated yourself to your career and you're quite happy, you've succeeded, you are now happily married, or you have your partner and things worked out for you, or maybe not, or maybe you have a question, so let us know.
You know, I was talking to a reporter some time ago from a newspaper, and she was saying that, you know, she's very successful in her job. She travels the world doing what she loves. She has a good salary. And she says, look, my problem is that I see the years passing by. I'm not married yet. I would have liked to be married. But I also have another problem, which is when I'm interested in someone, the person is not interested in me. And when they do start taking interest in me, I'm no longer interested in them. And this is strange. I think because there are people, Elena, who are so driven to succeed in their careers, sometimes that transpires to their love life, and the person thinks, you know, I want to have this, but then once they have it, they want to move on to the next challenge.
And also, it could be other reasons behind that. You know, maybe she behaves in a way that puts men off. For example, many women, in order for many women nowadays to be in the market, to do what they do, they have to be a bit, not masculine, but, you know, have a bit of, you know, I'm going to go out there and get it.
A lot of confidence.
Yeah, and that intimidates men, because women are thought to be, or were thought to be, these very gentle, very, you know, how do you say, very, you know, they need so much help, they are so fragile. But women are actually very, very strong. But, you know, in order for them to succeed, they had to portray this, and it puts many men.
And of course, we have to remember that, you know, I don't know, 50 years ago, women were the homemakers, the man was the provider. And today, the man is no longer the provider. You know, both can cooperate to paying the bills, to paying the mortgage. Actually, the woman doesn't need a man to survive. And it's been a long time since a woman has needed a man to survive. So things have changed quite a bit. The truth is that there will never be a time where a woman can say, I don't need a man. Just like there will never be a time where a man can say, I don't need a woman. And we would be very presumptuous to think otherwise. Now, we got some images, an interview from the internet of how men see women who are independent. Here's what they had to say.
I love me some strong, independent women, personally. A woman that's strong, for me, when I think about strong, independent women, she knows what she wants in her life. She goes after it. She's not waiting for a man. She's not standing by the phone waiting for me to call her. She's actively like creating. She's doing her thing. Like she's like has a life. Like she has her own life, and we're kind of coming together. Like I have my own life. She has her own life, and we're like co-creating and like we're enjoying each other. So there's no dependency. Because I've been in relationships where the woman kind of feel like she's depending on you for a lot of things, and I don't know about you as a man, Buddha, but I personally don't. After a while, it starts to kind of feel weird, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for independent, strong women, but there's something about that woman archetype that tends to repulse men sometimes.
What, a strong woman?
So here's what I think happens sometimes is that a woman that's really in her state of independence, that says, I don't need a man, I don't need anybody else, I'm totally good, is not necessarily creating a great relationship sometimes. Now, I also think that it's absolutely essential for a woman to get to that point of independence before she can go to the point of like interdependence. So I think it's a very important stage, but I think a lot of times women get stuck there and say, okay, I'm good, I don't need anybody. And there's a slight difference between need and what I call sort of yearning.
A real man is gonna step up to the plate no matter what the situation is, of how independent you are, how much money you make, or how well your career is going, because he's gonna look at you from a relationship perspective, and he's going to understand that there's a way for him to feel it as an equal in the relationship, and that's by being a great partner.
And then some women are so on this independent kick, they end up alone. You're going to independent your way into loneliness. You go off and go buy all the little poodles you want. At least my dog is happy to see me when I get home every day. That dog will never be able to replace, or that rabbit will never be able to replace what a real man can do for you. So, stay independent, get your own, have your own, but nobody wants to be alone.
Very interesting. And I was just discussing with Elena now something very, very interesting. I think when a woman is really successful, she tends to become, like you said, Elena, to become this person who's driven, who's determined, tough, because she has to be. There's no doubt, at work. But then again, it's a man, no matter what anybody else says, a man will feel threatened by a woman who has this kind of character, this kind of persona. And I think it's very important that a woman is able to separate, to divide the career from the relationship. Mm-hmm. Because when you move on to the realm of the relationship, it's important that you leave that tough part of you to a side, because for a man that is off-putting. A man will feel threatened because he wants naturally to have that lead.
Yeah, he's a natural hunter and provider, isn't it? So it's normal that he feels that way. And I think, I heard what some of the men said, oh no, we are all for women being independent and everything. But deep down, really, I think men like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, they like a woman who is feminine, who sometimes is a bit vulnerable, feels like, oh, can you help me with that? Can you help? Many times, don't get me wrong, I'm very strong. We've always shared, we've already shared with you on the show
sometimes you're so strong that we have a bit of friction, right?
We've shared that on the show before. I was very independent before I met my husband, and I know how to do everything. I know how to, do something in the house, change the light bulbs, all this kind of stuff. But sometimes I'll just say, baby, can you help me with this? I can so do it. But I like it when he does it for me. You leave your toughness outside and you work at your relationship.
Now, I have a couple of facts here, but something that certainly proves that what we're saying in terms of women being very driven with their careers and so on being true. It says here that the number of women over the age of 40 having a baby has increased by more than 4-fold in the last 30 years.
Wow.
So although the UK has the highest rate of teenage pregnancy in Western Europe, even so, generally the women are having children later in life, and that certainly must be because they are focusing on their careers.
Well, by 2012, the figure had risen to 29,994, or 4.1% of all live births.
Absolutely. Now,
so
usually in the second segment of this program, we come back and we speak a little bit, but we did something different today. And you're going to see what it is. Stick around, because when we come back, we're going to do something a little different to do with the independent women's subject. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, today we're doing something a little different because talking about independent women and, you know, is it better to get married young? Is it better to get married, you know, a little bit later because you're focusing on your career? What we did is we brought two people to the show who have very different life experiences, and they're going to be telling us how things went for them. So we have Victoria, welcome to the show, and Priscilla, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So shall we start with you, Victoria? I mean, you are the career-driven woman who has put love life in the back burner for a while. Tell us about your story. Why did you decide to do that?
Yeah, I felt for me my career was a real important thing in my life, and there were things I wanted to achieve, and there was a person I wanted to become, and I took the decision to really focus on doing that, and felt, you know, dividing my time between a relationship could take away from that. So during studies, I just studied and sort of building my career. My focus was just on, you know, hitting my targets and achieving what I needed to do in work. So I felt it was just the best decision at that time. And I guess there was a bit of influence of, you know, being a career woman, it is all about your career. It's like, that is your baby, that's your love, that's your passion. And, you know, for me, it was thinking, okay, once I've achieved or got to a certain point in my career, I've got all the time in the world to focus on a relationship, because I also believe relationships need time and they need dedication, just like my career does. So for me, it was like one or the other, and the career came first.
Do you think you've made the right decision, or you regret that decision?
Looking back.
No, I think I have made the right decision, because I'm happy and I've achieved what I've wanted to achieve, and, you know, I'm secure. I like having my independence. I think, you know, yes, I do see a lot of my friends who are settling down and married, and, you know, it's nice to see, and perhaps, yes, I don't have that, but I think I still got time to do that.
So you're looking for love now, yeah?
Yeah.
And I think something very important to ask you, Victoria, is do you think there would be a point where a person would think, I've left it too late, or I shouldn't have left it this late? Not too late, but I shouldn't have left it this late.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think I'm fortunate because I'm still under 30, but I've literally been working on my career since I was about 17, 18, so 10 years. But I think some women get to a certain age where they think, well, you know, I might not be able to have children, or even finding the right partner. I think, you know, when you're younger, you're more social, you meet more people. I think as you get older, it is harder, and you might find the men are, you know, they're already settled down. So I think, yeah, you can sometimes, you know, I wouldn't say miss the boat, but especially if you want to have a family and stuff, there is, well, in theory, there is a window period, but I still don't think that should prevent people from pursuing what they want to do. Not everybody wants to have children. It's not sort of, you know, given that you must get married and have kids. I think everyone should be entitled to choose their own lifestyle choice, and whatever makes them happy, you know, do it.
Are you now investing in your love life?
Yeah, you know, I'm getting out there. I mean, I'm still sort of, you know, I still think, yeah, I've arrived at a certain point in my career, but I've got a long way to go. But I am now taking a bit more time to sort of date and get out there. And yes, I would like to have, you know, love life and get married, but it's not something, again, it's not something that's really strong on my agenda right now. I still think I've got, you know, a good couple of years. So I think, yeah, I want to meet the guy potentially that I'll marry now. Maybe in like 4 or 5 years' time, we can look at, you know, getting married and settling down.
That's great. So I want to go to...
with a plan.
Exactly, it's good to have a plan. I want to go to Priscilla now. Priscilla, thank you for being on the show.
Yes.
Your story is very different.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your story, please.
So I got married very young. I got married at 21.
So the complete opposite of Victoria.
Yeah, completely opposite. I got married at 21. I was deeply in love, and I was like, despite, I didn't listen to my parents, obviously, sadly. And I got married, and I thought, well, you know, that's it. I got married. It's my life. I could do other things. But obviously, things get a bit complicated, and you kind of want to find yourself. And I think that's probably where the problem kind of started, trying to find myself, being in a situation where I didn't really know myself, but then I decided to get married at the time quite young. And I think also I was in a different country at the time, so it brings all complications as well.
But do you think you've put your whole life on hold to marry that person? Did you think you put everything else on the shelf just to marry this person?
I think, in all fairness, I think at that time I kind of felt, I think I had this issue about this devotion. I felt I was losing myself. I felt at that time I kind of felt I was losing my identity. And so there were many a times I had that struggle. I had that struggle that, okay, I was young and I kind of still wanted to do things. But then I'll get this reminder, oh, but you're married, you know. And at the time, most of my friends weren't married. So I'd want to go out with them. But then, you know, you have this role that, oh, but you're married. So the particular things you can't do. And when you're a bit younger, I think it makes it a bit more complex. And if you don't have correct role models or most of your friends aren't married, you know, it makes it kind of difficult.
Right.
And then when you have children, it makes it more complex as well, because most of your friends don't have the kids. And
So I want to ask you the same question that I asked Victoria. Do you think that getting married at that age, do you think you've made the right decision or the wrong decision, and why? Because actually we were saying before we started recording here that I got married at 21, right? And it worked for us. So the question would be, do you think you've made the right decision or not? And why do you think it was the right decision or the wrong decision?
Looking back, if I had not got married at 21, I probably wouldn't have had my beautiful son, which I'm so proud of. And I think that has made me mature and made me a different person and made me more understanding of particular relationships. And I think it's developed me as a human being. So I think, yes, maybe I could have waited, because at that time, I think maybe I wasn't mature enough, in all fairness. I think I didn't understand the concept of marriage. I just thought it was a fun thing. I think probably at that thing, yeah, exactly.
Just like the guy.
I just like the guy, let's get married. And I think at that stage, I did not understand the importance of marriage, the concept, what it needs to deal with, you know. I think maybe I kind of thought it was an extension of being, you know, with your boyfriend, like, okay.
So you've put all your dreams on hold.
Yeah.
Because of that relationship.
Exactly. And I think there were times I kind of sometimes, in all fairness, kind of felt resentment.
Right.
You know.
So it's not the case of whether it's right to get married at that age or not, it's the fact that for you, at that point, you weren't ready.
Yes.
Is that fair to say that?
Yeah, that's fair to say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, Victoria, what do you think the pros and the cons are of, for example, you who are in that situation that you've chosen to, you know, put everything you have into your career and you think you're making the right decision? What do you think the pros and the cons are of that decision?
Well, the pros is that sort of the process that I've been through in terms of my journey through growing up and learning throughout my career and time on my own. I think I've really learned to understand what I like, who I am, what I want in life. I've learned to appreciate my friends and have, you know, platonic bonds with people that doesn't have to be romantic. And I think, you know, I've learned the value of friendship, and I've enjoyed myself. I've enjoyed life, and
you've achieved things.
Yeah, and I've achieved things that I've wanted to. So those are the pros in sort of, you know, putting the career first. I think the cons are not having a, you know, really close, intimate relationship or a marriage as you're getting sort of approaching your 30s and stuff, where, you know, a lot of your friends, you know, 24, 25, 26 are getting married and stuff. So I think, yeah, the cons are, you know, coming home to an empty home and stuff and not having that support. But I think it kind of balances itself, because I still got friends and I've still got people around me, I've got
and
family.
you're still very young, so you can still find your other half.
Exactly.
And I think the important thing to mention, for example, I just want to make two very important points that you said, Priscilla, and this is very important because I want people to understand that. It's not the fact that a person getting married at being 21 or 22 is wrong. You just have to be ready. Actually, I think when people get married at that age today, people do think it's very young. If we go back quite a few years, I mean, my parents got married even younger than I did. And, you know,
soon marriage will be in a museum.
I think we're heading into that direction, it seems, but I just think that a lot of people are, you know, it seems to be frowned upon that people are getting married younger, but the fact of the matter is, it's not about the age, it's about that you have to be ready, of course.
People are
if you're 17, 18, you should probably not be getting married, right? You have better things to do. Go back to school. But I think the important thing, perhaps, is to be able to reconcile both things. Your relationship, your marriage, or whatever it is, with your career. If you can do it, you know, earlier in life, great.
And ask yourself what you want out of life. You know, some people just, you know, they grow up in a very loving home, and all they want is to be like mom and dad. I wanna get married early, have my children, have a house, be a housewife, and they're happy like this. Some other people, they want to go out there and conquer and be the next president, you know, the next woman president, and build a beautiful house and things.
But perhaps the other important thing on that note to mention, which Victoria, you agreed with, is that you know, it's not that there is a window as such for happy. Perhaps there is a window to have children, right? But there isn't a window to be happy. You can find someone to be happy regardless of your age. Your age has nothing to do with it. But it's not really advisable that you hang your love life on a hanger inside a closet somewhere and you remember it when you're 65. That wouldn't be ideal. So guys, I want to thank you for being on the show. We've run out of time, right? So stay where you are, because after the break, we're going to be meeting a couple who's here with us, who they've only been married for 4 years. They didn't get married at the conventional age, but they've been married for 4 years and they are very, very happy. You're going to hear their story in just a few moments. Hello and welcome back to the program. Now, this is the section of the program that we have a wonderful couple here sitting with us. We always have someone who, a couple who come here and tell us about their experiences. And today, because we're talking about women who are independent, who, you know, put their careers ahead of everything, we brought a couple here who have a similar story to this. First of all, here's an interview we did with them earlier, so you can learn a little bit more about who they are.
How I met Diana was at the law therapy. We had a thing called speed dating.
I met Peter at speed dating, but I had seen him previously before and watched him, and I liked his profile, how he was, how he interacted, and I just liked what I saw.
My favorite things about Diana is a character. I like that she's very organized, which is something I'm not, and her personality. She's very funny, a bit like me, but probably even funnier.
His humbleness, he's very meek, he's very just chilled, very chilled, yeah.
I think if I could go back in time again, I would choose Diana as a person for me. I can't think of many changes that I would make, so yes.
When I met Peter and we started dating, I knew that he was going to treat me as a gem, that I wasn't going to fret about my relationship. He was going to put 101% in.
What I can leave for Diana is I wish she would understand my jokes more and laugh at my jokes. She never does, and I think my jokes are quite funny, but she finds it hard to laugh at my jokes. 1 out of 10 perhaps. So that's all I can say.
Peter, you make me happy every day, and I know as the years go by, you are going to make me happier. I didn't marry you to make me happy, but you compliment me, and I thank you.
So you just found out a little bit about our couple, so let's meet them.
Lovely couple.
Welcome, Peter and Diana.
Hello.
How are you?
Thank
So,
you
guys,
so much for coming.
Thanks for coming, yeah, absolutely. Now, you guys got married. You've been married not for very long, right? How long have you been married for?
I say just over 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
So you didn't get married in your early 20s, let's say.
No.
So, I mean, why was that? That's the first question, Diane. I mean, were you a very independent, career-driven woman? Is that why you got married a little bit later in life? Or is that because there were other issues? What's the story behind that?
I think it's a bit of both, actually. I was concentrating on my career. I couldn't find the right person. Tried to settle down, it didn't work. So I kind of gave up on that for a little while, and just focused on what I wanted to do, you know. And then I decided when the right man comes along, then it will happen.
Right. So because of disappointments you had, you put your love life in the back burner.
I did.
And what did you do? Did you just focus on your career and
Just focused on me, my career, you know, just doing basically, nothing specific, you know. I had always been independent anyway, so just let it go with the flow.
But as time went by, didn't you get a bit worried? Like, you know, I don't know about you, but some women, they really want to have, I don't know, 2 children before they are, I don't know, 30. I don't know, it depends. You hear so many things. Some people, before they reach their 45, they want to have, I don't know, 4 kids or 3 children. How was it with you?
Yeah, I would have liked to have, I mean, I would have liked to have certain things in place by a certain time, but it didn't happen. I wasn't nervous or anxious or anything like that. I said if it's going to happen.
Because eventually you found the right person, so that's what matters, isn't it?
So you weren't the typical woman we were talking about earlier, who's very career driven, and you were just thinking about success, climbing the ladder of success in your career. It just so happened that it had to happen later in life.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to have a career with my partner as well. You know, certain projects that I wanted to do, I wanted my partner to have that same sort of interest. So I wanted to know that we was going to be doing that together. There's no age limit on having a different kind of career.
Absolutely. Now, so who was Diane before she met Peter? Way before. Who was Diane again?
Way before I met Peter, I was.
Tell the truth, 'cause
yes,
we knew
yes. I was a bit lost, really. Not that he found me or anything like that, but for myself, I had to get to know myself. I had a few wrong relationships, and I was very cautious in going into a relationship. The next relationship I wanted to go into, I wanted it to be for keeps. So I was very cautious in what I wanted. I knew what I was looking for. And it had to be totally opposite to what I had in my past, you know.
Wow, we really need to speak to Peter because he's got some very good qualities. This is the man that she found. I mean, they found each other.
I think something important to ask you, Diana. How long was, if you don't mind us asking, how long was that period of time that you waited for the right person that you chose to wait?
It was a good few years. Yeah, it was a lot of years actually.
So you did, but during that time you weren't anxious. You, like you said, you were just going along with your life. Believing that person would come along, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, definitely, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Peter? What's your story?
With me, I planned to get married when I got to about age 30. So when I got to 30, I said I would have this in place. I'll be married. I would have children, but it didn't materialize that way.
It didn't happen. What did you start to panic?
I got a bit frustrated, to say the least, and but I knew if I got married to the wrong person, what would happen? It'd be worse than being single. So
or frustrated.
Yeah, or frustrated.
Yeah,
because once you get married, it's like going through the whole trouble of being divorced, and you know, it's a lot of heartache. So I thought I carry on work on myself, work on my career, and eventually
enjoy your single life as well, isn't it? And investing in yourself. Let me just interrupt you right there. You know, some people have the wrong idea that they've got to have a perfect life before they are 30, or at least by 30.
Or before they get married.
Yes, and it's not true. I mean, everyone is different. No one is the same. And there's, you know, look at you. You found the right person and vice versa. Later, in
But Peter, the thing about you is that if I remember correctly, prior to being 30, you probably weren't ready to get married, right?
No.
You were a little bit on the wild side. That's the time when you still had some hair. Right?
It got to a point where I was, what can I say? I was living a wild life. You know, I was going out partying, staying outside for days at an end. So, well, I wasn't ready to get married.
Definitely not, let me tell you right now.
I wasn't ready.
So the truth is, you said at 30 you were a bit disappointed because you were not married and you hadn't settled down, but actually this was your fault.
No, I can only imagine Peter after the whole raving night. I don't know how you'll put it like this, looking at the stars. Why am I still single? Well, tomorrow is working day and I'm still here. I haven't slept.
So I mean, it's interesting because I mean, you didn't get married, you know, at the age that you did get married because you were focusing on your careers. It just so happened that before then, you, Peter, you weren't ready.
That's right.
Perhaps for a long time you weren't ready, and you, Diane, you didn't want to make the same mistakes you had made in the past. So you were cautious. When you did get married, for example, we've had couples here before who got married also a little later in life. And they said because of this, they avoided a lot of the problems that you have when you get married quite young. So they didn't have many problems. How was it with you? Did you go through problems? Did you go through difficult situations in the beginning, adapting?
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
Yeah, I think even though you learn more as you mature, I think also as well you sort of tend to have your own way of doing things. So because of that, it sort of clashed when we got married. So Dan did things a certain way, I did things my way.
I was really, I'm independent. Even though, you know, it wasn't like totally career driven, I was very independent and I had to adapt, you know, and it was a really hard transition.
It's both giving up of your own space, your own desires, you know, this is my corner where I put all my books. Well, no longer your corner, now she puts a bicycle or whatever.
Did you struggle with that, with giving up like a certain drawer or?
No, I didn't struggle with that, did
no,
I?
because
I
she
gave up all
made
my
sure.
drawers for you,
Yeah, straight away. Yeah.
I gave them all my drawers.
I had space straight away. But one of the things I struggled with, one of my favourite pastimes was football. And sometimes I had to sort of miss that, whatever. Adapt a little bit.
He still struggles with single-mindedness. He still has that, after 4 years, he still has that single-mindedness, right?
I'm not gonna argue with that, it's true.
But in a way that can be a quality, right? To be single-minded about something, that can be a quality. So, I mean, you mentioned that it was difficult for you to adapt to certain things because you were very independent.
Yeah.
What was it that was it, for example, before you wouldn't have to let anyone know that you were going to spend a certain amount of money on something you wanted, and now you all of a sudden you had to do that? Was it that, or was it, what was it that was it so difficult to adapt?
It wasn't.
I think I know the answer, but I'll let you answer.
It's actually not. It wasn't that, you know, because.
I mean, one of the things that I've noticed, let's say for something needed doing, like which I consider to be a man's job, like carpentry or something in the house. Dan would be there with a hammer. What are you doing? That's my job. You know? So,
she is very organized, isn't she?
Yeah.
I bet she tries to organize you every day.
I've kicked his back
Tell
now.
the truth. Are you better now?
I have, haven't I? I'm not. I don't think I'm that.
Because he tries to do that with me all the time, so I know what it's like.
Yeah, no, I've kicked back now. I try my hardest.
Good. So guys, I mean, we're going to go into a short break now. What we want to find out from you after the break is, how did you solve the problems that you had? Because you said you found it difficult to adapt in the beginning. You had quite a few years where you were very independent, both of you. You had your lives. You didn't have to report to anyone before you did something. Then all of a sudden everything changed and you had a few problems adapting. We want to find out how you did that. And the other thing I want to find out from you guys is, do you think it's better in an ideal world to get married when you're younger and have career and marriage, or to do it later? Don't answer now. Okay. You're going to answer that after the break. So stay with us. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back. So it's been very interesting, and it's been a lot of fun getting to know our guests. Although we've known them for a few years, it's been a privilege to know you guys for a few years. Now, we want to find out from you guys, because you mentioned adapting earlier. It was a little bit difficult. How did you overcome that? How did you solve that problem?
A lot of talking, a lot of arguments. But for me, it was just one day, it was like, I feel like I'm in a war zone with my husband. Like, we're meant to be fighting with each other and not against each other, you know. And I thought, it's time to quit. It's either, you know, it's time to just try and adapt, basically. I had to adapt. I was trying to adapt to my husband.
Do you think you were trying to change him?
Yeah, I was trying to change him and I needed to change me. And the penny dropped, basically. You know.
How long did it take for that penny to drop?
Took a little while. Took a few years, didn't it?
And likewise, I mean, I tried to change my wife, and I thought I need to change myself. So I worked on myself as well. And even though I still need to change, I've improved a little bit. So
who do you think started to change first? It's a tricky question, because
I think we both.
I think I did.
Really?
Did you?
I think I did. That's just my opinion, babe.
But you know, the reason why I'm asking this is because this thing of trying to change your partner is one of the biggest problems that happens in marriage. I mean, bar none, right? But it never happens. It's actually, we were talking about this in the love therapy seminar, that instead of being two against one, being two, the couple against the problem, it becomes one against one.
Yeah, and that's how it felt. That's really how it felt, you know. And
you don't go anywhere.
No, and you're miserable, you know. You're in your house and it's like a war zone, and you're like, this has got to change, because if it's...
You know, Diana and Peter, Elena, I was thinking about this, that sometimes one party in the couple wants to show that his way is the right way.
Yeah.
And then they put this thing in their head and they're fighting for this because they want to prove their way is the right way. But then nobody wins with that. There's never an end to that argument.
Definitely.
And what you said is very important, because when you let go and you tried to adapt, you tried to change first, that's perhaps what started the change. Even though Peter said he started changing maybe at the same time, but maybe it started just a couple of seconds with you.
Yeah, most probably. We're still adapting, and that's the truth, isn't it? We're still adapting. You know, there's many times that I want to just speak, you know, and I'm got to swallow, because I know.
4 years, still. You know,
yeah, because I know it will cause an argument, so I have to let it go.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, well, sometimes when
life's too short. Why should I be arguing about this and that?
Sometimes when I believe that I'm right, and I just say, look, let it go over my head, because if I try to prove to Diane that I'm right, it will cause an argument. So sometimes it's best to let it go. Sometimes.
And let her find out by herself that she's wrong.
Yeah.
And vice versa. And
Perfect,
we don't actually argue that much, do we?
No,
we don't. We really don't.
But you were saying earlier that there was a point where your marriage was like a war zone.
Yeah.
So it went from being a war zone to now not arguing almost anymore.
Well, just before we came here, didn't we? He was driving and I was like, no, don't go in that lane. And
oh my God, don't do that. Men don't
thought,
like that.
Miss Helena, I thought about you.
Did you think about me?
I did, Helena. I thought about you. And I thought, here I go, keep quiet. You know?
Yes.
Just 2 minutes before we walked into
I try to practice that every day.
I'm driving down. Did you see that man? Yes, I saw that man. Watch the lights. I know the lights are red. You know?
Oh my God! Don't do that.
And I tell you guys.
I don't know if you said it or I read it.
I said it somewhere.
You said it, and I said. And I told you about it, didn't I? I was like, Helena was saying about when James is driving, and I said, you know that I do that, right?
They don't
I'm
like
gonna
it.
try and
I
stop.
think I've said in the program once that I was driving right in the beginning when I had my driver's license.
He just likes to talk about this.
And Elena was saying something about my driving, and I stopped the car and said, right, you come and drive here if you think you drive so well. And at that time, she didn't have a driver's license.
But now I do, so okay.
But now
then.
she does. If I do that, she'll just jump in the seat and drive.
No
So
worries.
I can't do that anymore.
I'll drive.
Now, guys, I wanted to find out from you, do you think it's better for a person to get married younger and hopefully still have a career, or get married later, like it happened to you? In an ideal world, what would you have liked to happen to you?
I think it could work out both ways, actually.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any set way, to be honest. I think that, you know, if you found the right person when you're younger, you know, it can work.
The key to this is how you adapt. How you adapt. If you make plans to get married, like I did at a certain age, and it didn't happen, you can adapt and get married later. But I do think, I mean, if I had a second chance, I would like to be married probably slightly earlier. But I'm very happy the way I am now.
that was very good. That ended that well.
You almost did not make it.
Now,
That's just like
the interesting thing is that a lot of people are choosing to get married later because of their careers. And I know you may not have the answer for this because you are no experts. You're still in the learning process. Even we are no experts. But I think the conclusion we've come to in this program, and from reading on this, is that you can have a career and still not put your love life to one side. Do you think that's true?
I do. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Have you been able to keep concentrating your careers even after you've been married?
Yeah, and as we said, we've got projects that we want to actually do together, you know, so our careers just moving, shifting.
I believe that, you know, I know many women say, oh, I'm going to focus on my career first, and then when I finish, when I graduate, when I do whatever, buy my house and I don't know what else, then I will think. But
you can fall into a trap like that because men seem to look at women as, you know, too much of a challenge. When they've got that career, they've got that
they
big
come across
wage
too intimidating.
Yes,
and it's a lot, you know, I think you feel a lot happier if you are working towards your career and also dating at the same time. I think it helps you, you know, live your life and see where it takes you. Well.
And guys, just before we finish, what do you think is, if you had, in these 4 years of being married, what is the one most important advice you could give to a couple who just got married now? Peter?
What would you say?
I would say what I've just said before, really. You need to learn to adapt. That's the most important thing, because each couple will have different lifestyles, different backgrounds, and unless they learn to adapt, it's not going to work.
And
I'd say communicate. Definitely to communicate. I think that's such a key to everything. And it brings you closer. It lets you know what the person's feeling inside. You know, sometimes you think, what's wrong with this person? They're not speaking. And you make up your own decision what's wrong with that person. Yeah. You know, so I think communication is the key.
Even though for men, it's more difficult to communicate. I think men have to learn to communicate. Women, they naturally know how to communicate. Men, they have to forcefully try to communicate, right? And if you're a man and you're watching me now and you say, well, I don't really like to communicate, then welcome to the club, because most of us are like that. There are some very few exceptions, but if you don't like to communicate, don't worry, there's nothing wrong with you. You just need to forcefully learn how to do that.
We all have to learn something along the way. So,
guys, thank you very much for being on the program. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
For seeing you again and coming on the show.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Now, I think, you know, there are certain subjects, and this is just for us to wrap up the program here. There's a few subjects where they are clear cut and we can come here and say, do this or do that. But perhaps one of the most important things to learn from this show tonight is that there may not be a right time for you to get married, like a right age. But one thing you should not do is to focus everything, all your efforts, all your strength on your career, and then wake up one day and see that you've neglected your love life. That's a bad move.
Absolutely, because when you look around, you have this wonderful house, your very own flat or big house, you've graduated and did this and that, but you are all by yourself and there's no one to enjoy it with. So it's not ideal. I mean, you want to have someone by your side, you want to enjoy things together, you want to have fun. That's what life is about, is, you know, working hard and playing hard. Isn't that how they say it? So that's it, really.
Absolutely. So I think Elena said it very well. I won't add anything else to that. We hope that you've enjoyed this program, that you've learned something from this program, and we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful evening.